hours to come in.
Good, I'm fantastic.
Welcome to our channel, Life Raw and Real. My name is Indranil. Probably you have seen me in a video as a producer, but today I would be interviewing a very special guest whose name is Isaac, who is a martial artist and the teacher of my daughter, and I am learning as well. So we will talk about self-defense and the importance of martial arts in everyday life. Welcome to Life Raw and Real, Isaac.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good, I'm fantastic. It's good to actually be here after having a discussion for such a long time about actually coming on. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you, and thank you for, giving your precious time. I was always planning to interview you because I always wanted to talk about martial art and its benefits across all ages. And today we are going to start with your early childhood, and I would like you to take us through the journey, learning martial arts, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, let's start from the very beginning. So I started Taekwondo when I was 2 years old. Mum and Dad, for whatever reason, decided that it'd be a good thing for me to do. Dad always tells me the story the very first time that he took me. We were driving past my first ever dojo, and I was like, Dad, I need to go. And so I ended up taking us, and basically from 2 to 5, they had this, we have our minis program now. It was very similar to what we run in our school now. But yeah, like from that 2 to 5 years, I was doing, basic fundamentals and things like that. I was always a troublemaker when I was in class. Like I used to run out the doors and kick doors down, and like I would always gain a whole heap of trouble. And then as I started to go up to the ranks, basically by the age of, I think it was 9, I got my first degree. And then, going forward, then 13 was second and 15 was et cetera, all the way up. And then I was granted my 4th degree when I was 17 years old, which is abnormal because generally you do have to kind of wait until you're 18 years old. There was a whole bunch of exception process that we had to go through to get that. But anyways, back to my early childhood. Basically from my 2 to 5 years, I was a very active kid. And I think more than anything, the reason my parents wanted to get me into it was because as much as they were a very disciplined family, I wasn't a very disciplined kid. And so getting a bit of routine into my life, especially prior to going to school, which is another reason like so many kids come to us now, is because it's a really good stepping stone leading into school, right? It's like gives them structure. They know every single day that they're coming here in the afternoon from this time, and they're going to sit down and focus for 30 minutes, and then they get to go home, right? So that was another reason that they wanted to get me into it. And like by no means at all did I enjoy it. And most kids, the reality is most kids have those days. And as a parent, like every parent knows, some days their kid wants to get up and do stuff, and then other days their kid never wants to. And I had those days when I was that young age. And then purely on the basis because my parents pushed me to keep going, I eventually came to fall in love with it, and not even just the art, but the constant growth that you get from it. And yeah, like as I said, I climbed up through the ranks throughout the years, and just through commitment and hard work, basically built myself up to a place where I could go ahead and do all the things that we've done now.
Right, that's very interesting. So I have a quick question, Isaac. Why did you choose, or why did your parents choose a Korean martial arts, Taekwondo?
Good question. I think, to be honest with you, most parents have no idea, so they just go with whatever's closest. And if I had to say, like back when I started, there weren't, now you go everywhere in Australia and there's a whole bunch of dojos, and we'll touch on later like what's a good dojo and what's not. But back then, I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up just choosing it for the sake of choosing it. But then as we got deeper into it, they eventually then started to obviously make decisions based on, like, is this a good style to go to? Like, what are the differences? And that's one of the big questions I get from parents. Like, what is the actual difference? Like, what's the difference between karate and Taekwondo and Muay Thai? And ultimately, like as you would know, they're all based around the same concepts. Like between karate and taekwondo, there's very minimal conceptual difference. The only difference is what you practice more of, right?
And the patterns.
Exactly, and the forms, and the history behind it, like all of that varies. But the actual general structure of every single martial art is very, very similar.
Yeah.
It's just about what do you want to focus more on. And obviously then, that's quite hard, especially if you have a young child, because what you want them to learn might not necessarily be what they're ready to learn. And that's what I see a lot of parents, they come in and they want their kid to jump straight into sparring or, full contact sparring or whatever. And they jump in and they don't know how to keep their hands up or the basic fundamentals. And they end up sending them to, a fighting gym where they just do fighting for basically all their class. And they get turned off by it because they weren't ready for it. So like I was saying, I think for my parents more than anything, they didn't really have any clue. They weren't informed about anything before. And a lot of parents just aren't. They just think it's like a soccer, like there's one soccer and you go play soccer. It's not like martial arts. There's multiple different variations of it.
But would you recommend that these days, I know that information is available online. So is it recommended for the parents to do some research and then choose the type of martial arts which suits best for their children?
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely suggest that. One thing that I do say to parents is, obviously you can read a lot online, but obviously experiencing it's really important. And it's also sometimes tough because there's a lot of different styles out there where there's not a lot of schools, but there's still amazing type of martial arts to learn. Like we were talking about Silat a few days ago, right?
Correct,
and it's like there's one school in Sydney, but it's an amazing style. But then you look at karate and there's, karate's a very, has a very big history behind it. And it obviously provides a lot of values, but with a lot of martial arts schools, you're going to have the ones that don't perform and the ones that we call them McDojos. That's what we call them, like McDojos. They're just there to take your money. That's all they're there to do.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a Macca's. Yeah, we call it a McDojo. And they're just there to take your money. And there's tons of them.
Right.
But yeah, so do your research before going in. Understand the differences. Understand what you're really looking for. Are you looking for a self-defense? Are you looking for a motivation and learning and discipline? Or are you looking for something exercise based? Like what are you exactly looking for? Find a few and then go in and trial them all and get a taste for them all. And don't be afraid to blend them either. Like don't be afraid to go to a school that blends, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo and Silat together. Like don't be afraid to do that. But we'll run through later, exactly how to choose a good school or whatnot. But yeah.
Okay, Isaac. So, tell me what are your plans with TKA? Which I would like to know the full name of TKA. What does it stand for?
Sure. Yeah. So TKA stands for Taekwondo Culture Australia. Culture with a K. We want to be a bit funky, so we want to do it a bit differently. Like I'll give you some context about where TKA came from, and then I'll go from there. So we're based in Kellyville, and the whole purpose of TKA was to create a really close family, parents, kids, adults, a whole variety of people coming together and then learning not only martial arts, but continually supporting each other. And so, we've been operational now for just under a year, and we've had some incredible amount of growth. Previously, I was teaching at a school basically full time. I was, basically running, a lot of the classes within the school. And the reason that I decided to end up leaving that school in particular was because the morals and values didn't align as much as I thought they did. And you find that a lot, as you grow, you start picking out flaws in, whether it's your work, whether it's like with what you do in sport. As kids grow, they start picking out flaws in their parents, it's just as life goes on. And then you kind of got two decisions. Most people either go ahead and fix those problems in their life, like they'll go and make the corrections that their parents didn't do, like their parents were quite strict, or the parents were too soft, and so they go ahead and be soft again, or they actually fix them, like they call it intergenerational trauma, when parents pass down trauma to their kids, and some people choose to make the decision to change that. And that's what I decided to do. I was like, yeah, I'm going to create a school that's completely different to this, and focuses on not just the physical things, because looking great can be amazing, but actually being able to get up there and be confident with yourself, and understand your value, right? And so, like I was saying, we've grown massively, so much so, like you would know, you're in there. Like we're getting so crammed for space right now. Like we're now looking for a brand new location to open up. We'll most likely move to Rouse Hill. And if our growth continues, I wouldn't be surprised within the next 2 or 3 years if we have two schools running. Like one in the west.
Yeah, I hope for the best. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, like in terms of moving for the future, we're just looking to provide as much value as possible to whoever comes and join us, both mentally for kids and physically for kids, but even more so to parents. Like there's so many, and we'll get into this later, but there's so many parents who feel as though they can't do it, either because their kids do it, right? It's like, oh no, my kids play soccer, I can't play soccer, or like my kids do Taekwondo, I can't do Taekwondo. Or they do it because they think it's a childish sport, or they're too old. Like so many reasons why people, I was speaking to the kids today in class, and one of the things we talked about was, why didn't they practice? I was like, put your hand up if you practiced today, and half the room puts their hands up, another half doesn't. Go around and ask all the kids who didn't, and one of the kids was like, oh, I just wanted to play. And then I was like, oh, okay, fair, like we just want to play, but and a lot of parents will go and say, oh, you can't play, you have to practice or do your homework. But then when you ask a parent, hey, like, why didn't you come to training today? Or why aren't you going to the gym? Or why aren't you like keeping up with your fitness? It's, I needed to work. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Priorities are different.
And I don't know whether you have noticed, if the parents are motivated, they will not miss the class.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's my personal, opinion that I feel that whatever our kids do, we are not being able to take part in it. Like we are not going to school and sitting next to them, right? Exactly. But sports is something that we can take part and be a role model, which would provide a lot of motivation for the kids as well. Yeah. Not to miss the class, learn the art, focus, and that will have a positive impact on their studies as well. Definitely. Right? And also, you are instilling the value that, my parents go and practice martial arts or boxing or whatever, or any sports, they would be more motivated to go with you, because they get that, that my parents are there, the family bonding is, getting better and better, and they will have more respect, I think, for each other. Yeah. Isaac, is there a family class that you are planning to do where parents and kids can join together and practice?
Yeah, so we do. We run, we have family classes that will run 3 days a week. But one of the suggestions that I give to every parent is, especially starting, family classes should not be your priority at all. One of the many benefits of martial arts particular is it's an individual collaborative sport. Like it's an oxymoron, but it's an individual collaborative sport. Like when you go play soccer, it's a team sport, right?
Right.
Like you could be the best player on earth, but if you have bad team members, you can't go ahead and win. Where it's martial arts, you can be surrounded by, people who are okay, or people that can develop, and you can be amazing and you can get really good results. And because it's an individual sport, what I tend to find is that sometimes I've seen all of it. I've seen families coming together and they just train together. I've seen families who come in and they start off, segregated. They're all in different classes. And I've seen families come in who do a combination of both. And by far, the students who go the furthest are the ones who are segregated. It's like dad goes and trains his class, mum goes and trains her class, or, mum and dad do the same class. And then, family does, the daughters do the class before. Why? Because they're still there together, they're still doing it together, but it's their own time.
And also the teaching style.
Exactly.
from a teacher's perspective, right? So you won't be teaching in the same style that you teach a kid, and you would be applying the same style to the parent.
Exactly.
right?
Like we talked about this, I think it was a few months ago. Like,
Yes.
your daughters were sitting in on one of your classes,
Yes.
and we were going through stuff, and you know, your oldest daughter was like, "Oh, why don't we learn this?" And we had to explain to her, like, most kids don't understand it to that capacity, or we need to teach it in a different way and apply it in a different way, right? But back to my point, like, a lot of family classes are amazing to keep kids coming. It's like, yeah, I get to train with mum and dad. It's great. And we have them on days which we call like their quiet days. Like you have them on a Saturday
Right.
when it's quiet and it's just easier because a bigger class is better. Like you don't want to be in the class of two
So what I'm
people.
hearing is you recommend that focus on learning the art
Yeah.
in your own class,
Yeah.
which comprises of your age group, but also hang out with your parents in a family class.
Exactly. Yeah.
To get the, keep the momentum, feel motivated and connected.
Definitely.
Right. And also to, enhance your network and see, others, parents and dads, and they can mix together,
Well, definitely. Like
yeah.
that's one of the positive things about martial arts. Like every day I'll go into class, and like every new student that comes in, you learn something new off. Like that's one of the things we talk about when we do like our instructor programs, where you learn to teach and you learn to instruct, is that you learn the most from white belts, like by far. If you spar a white belt, you should be more scared than when you spar a black belt, because black belts are predictable. Like if I train you up to be an amazing sparrer, I know how you move. Whereas you bring a white belt in who you have no idea where he's from, what he's done. It's like sparring a whole new person.
Right.
And so, yeah, like when you're starting off and you do, if you're picking between family classes and individual, 100% go for the individual classes, and obviously spend time with your kids. And, you will have times where you have to do things together in classes, and that's great. But yeah, I'll definitely suggest sticking to the individual just to start off and really get the momentum rolling for both you and for them.
Thank you for this clarification, Isaac. I think it will help my viewers to understand what kind of class they should focus on. So Isaac, since we have talked about family classes, so I have a question for you, which is about domestic violence, right? So I want to understand the importance of martial art in our daily life, and how important it is for the females to learn for females of any age to deal with any kind of bullying, any domestic violence, and basically to protect themselves by using self-defense techniques.
Yeah.
If you can tell us about that.
Yeah,
that would be
sure.
great.
Let me start off with my experience generally working with people who have come from a domestic violence background, because I've done women's self-defense courses. I do quite a few of them every year.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like
You
we're...
never talked about that before.
No, I know. Like well, previously when I was at my other school, we used to do a lot of them, and we will
that's
do
great.
a fair few this year. But one of the things that typically happens is, I've seen thousands of different versions of women's self-defense courses, and all of them always revolve around like pad work. Like they get pads and they do pad work. And the reality is, like, most of the time that stuff's completely useless. So if you're watching, you've ever done a women's self-defense course and they're doing pad work, you're wasting your time, because most of the time, a lot of things that we run through like are a lot more realistic. And the reality is, not once is someone going to come up to you and be like, yeah, let's go, like straight in front of your face,
Yes,
So one of the things that is quite difficult for a lot of females in particular, but sometimes even males, just purely because it's a natural instinct, is getting over the fact that you need to run away from your problems. Not just in life generally, but also particularly with self-defense. One of the things that we talk about is when they want you, they've got you. And, ever since we're a child, we're told, if something's going to hurt you, like whether it's fire, it might be like your mum's running with a wooden spoon, like whatever it is, run away from it, right? And that's just a natural human instinct. And when people come in for their first self-defense program, like that's their natural instinct. It's like someone grabs you, get off, get off, get off. Like someone gets you in a headlock, get off, get off, get off. And to an extent, it's a good mindset to have, like stay away from danger. but when you're put in the situation where you're in trouble, both mentally and physically, it puts yourself in a really bad position. Like if we take from the mental point of view where, I've worked with clients who have been in really tough domestic violence places, and, you know, they've been abused at home, both mentally and physically, and their brain's saying, oh, I need to get away from it, I need to get away from it, I need to get away from it. But do they end up doing it? No, they don't, right? Like they end up staying in it and staying in it and staying in it and staying in it. And then likewise, like when they get physically abused, they're too busy trying to run away. But the reality is, you know, the average man is by far stronger than the average woman. And most of the time, you know, that's not possible. So for DV victims, domestic violence victims particularly, it's more of a mind shift than is even learning technique. Like I probably do more talking in a women's self-defense talk than I actually do practical learning, because it's not about learning these techniques. Like if it was all about learning techniques, I would run a 3-month program where it was like 2 hours every day. You just learn. But it's more so about understanding the psychology behind it all.
So it's more of a mindset.
Yeah, definitely by far.
So it's a shift of a mindset that other than getting victimized, you can stand up for yourself and then avoid the situation.
Exactly. And like for some people, that's the hardest part.
And if you're good in technique, then you can obviously hit
exactly
hard.
Right, exactly. And like for most people, you hear it quite often, like whether it's on the news or whatever, but most people who've come from, domestic violence backgrounds, they'll tell you, like for months and months, they'll be like, yeah, I knew I was like a victim. I knew I was in trouble and I knew all this stuff, but I didn't want to get out or I didn't know how to.
Right.
And then you hear all the family members say, oh, but like we were telling you and we were asking you and we were there to help, but you didn't do it, right?
Yes.
And so it's 100% more of a mind shift thing than it is an actual practical learning.
But learning makes you more confident to take that decision, right?
Exactly.
So, Isaac, what I'm hearing from you is you focused heavily on the change or the shift of mind and try to avoid the situation. But would you agree with me that learning the techniques properly will also contribute to avoid the situation?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Like I was saying before, you go to like women's self-defense programs and they do pad work, right?
Yes.
And it's completely useless because you very rarely face to face with someone right here in front with them completely open, right?
Yes.
So learning the proper techniques and making sure they're practical to your situation particularly is super important. Like we call it practicality work. So practicality work is where we put you in a situation that's realistic to you. So like for example, what you'll find is if there's a women's self-defense course and they do partner work, right? Quite often a lot of other schools will partner a girl up with a girl, right? And then they do it like that. But the issue with that is most people in that situation, they're not going to need help when it's person A versus person A1, like the exact same weight, exact same height, exact same gender.
Right.
They're not going to need help in that situation.
So you want to build a real life scenario,
yeah, exactly.
right? Where is somebody who is not of the same gender, and actually you want to recreate that situation of where the domestic violence is happening.
Exactly.
And how to get out of it.
Exactly.
Right?
And like putting yourself in that situation, like I said, can be tough. And that's why having like approaching the mindset thing before we move to that is super important, because when we put them into that position, like it can be triggers for some people, it can cause a whole bunch of things to come up. But in the long run, learning the proper techniques in that situation exactly in a controlled environment is going to be incredibly beneficial. And the reality is that the more you do it and the more realistic that it is, the higher percentage chance that it will work. I say this to everyone that does self-defense, but there's no technique that's bulletproof. Like there's no technique where I can teach you how to get out of every single chokehold with this one move and it's going to work.
Yes.
But by making it more realistic and practicing it over and over again, you're more likely...
Pick the right one for the right
Exactly.
situation.
Right? Whereas, you know, if you're just hitting pads and, you know, just there for the exercise,
Yes.
you know, it's really going to provide no value.
Well, thank you for explanation. Isaac, I have a question for my viewers around my age bracket, which is 40 plus.
Yep.
And we know for a fact that at this age, we focus on something else like other priorities of life, right? So if I have to go and say or ask any of my friend that, would you like to, you know, practice martial arts or learn martial arts, they will probably laugh at me. So I want to, pick your brain and understand the benefits of martial arts for matured age students.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I did some research on this the other day purely because I was very interested. Like myself, I'm reaching my prime now, so I'm not really in that age bracket. But one of the things that I've learned from my experience, through going through everything, you know, I've done forms, I've done the sparring aspect, I've done the self-defense aspect. The good thing about, you know, martial arts, not a fighting sport, and there's a difference. Like a fighting sport is you go there and you just spar. That's all you do. And your martial art is, you know, well-rounded. You got your sparring, your forms, your weapons, you got everything. One of the amazing things about martial arts is it doesn't matter what age you are, there's always something for you. Like for example, when like the World Cup 2 or 3 years ago, I did my ankle really, really bad. And like I was basically out, couldn't really do much. But yet I could still actually go to training and do stuff. And, you know, like I could do all the hands aspect, the self-defense stuff. I could go do, you know, the weapons practice. I could do a whole bunch of things. And I think that's one of the fascinating things about martial arts is it's almost been precisely programmed so that you can start at the youngest possible age and continue until your last breath. Like it's almost been, you know, particularly designed in that manner and designed like that so that you continue to do it all the way throughout. And that's what shocks me quite often when we get parents who come in and they're like, oh, you know, it's not for me. And I'm like, well, actually, like this is the best time to start, you know, like you're at an age where you can absorb content like never before, you know. Exactly. you absorb it really, really fast, and that's one of the things that we discussed, right? Like kids don't absorb it that fast, but adults pick it up. It just takes your body longer to kind of get into the shape where it can kind of move in the way you want it to move.
Exactly.
Right. And so it shocks me when parents are like, no, like it's just, I'm too old. But it's, you're at the perfect age because you can absorb knowledge. You then just need to work on your body applying it. And when your body can actually apply it, you feel better than ever. You're like, oh man, like I haven't felt like this since my 20s, right? So yeah, particularly for adults.
So you definitely recommend people who are 40 plus can join any kind of martial arts?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
And that would be beneficial for your fitness, you know, helps you to become more agile, more focused on your work, as well as you are learning something new.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like, a lot of parents tell me it's kind of like it's a reset for the day.
Right.
Like some people choose gym and that's great.
Yes.
But for me, like I always loved the social aspect. It's kind of like you go in, you talk to everyone, you get, you know, it's like it's a social reset so that when you hit the next day, you're up and you're rolling already.
Yes.
And then when you come back again, it's another reset.
Yes.
And you know, you see it all the time. Like you see like 60-year-olds who have been doing martial arts since they were like, you know,
and
30
black belts
or 40.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, exactly. Right. Like once you're kind of in that loop, it's very hard to get out of it.
Right.
And that's another reason why there's such a high success rate for parents who start when they're a white belt and get to black belt. You know, like 80% of parents who start as a white belt go through to get their black belt.
Yes.
Whereas, you know, for kids, it's like 40% from white.
And as
to
a
black.
teacher also, you don't need to spend so much time explaining the same thing, right?
No, exactly.
So you don't need to time out any parents.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So we can just like go through one content, like one bit of you know, piece of a technique.
Yes.
And then the next class, I don't have to run through it. We just have to practice it.
Yes.
And it's so much simpler and easier to run through that content.
Yes.
And
at the end,
even
it's
more,
like the precision and execution, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You practice more. Yes.
Exactly. That's all it is. And that's the good thing, because you can practice it at home with friends, family, whatever.
Yes. Thank you. Let's talk about the connection of martial art with mental health.
Yep.
Can it help you to make your mental health better? Somebody who is going through depression or daily life stress. If you can.
Yeah, sure. So
explain.
if we speak generically with sport, there, like, without a doubt, there's a correlation. Like, every single psychiatrist you go to says exercise in general, sports in general, improves mental health, right?
Yeah.
So I think, let's not talk about that. Rather, let's say, like, why martial arts specifically, right? Like, why is martial arts one of the top to get involved in, right? When it comes to general mental health. And a lot of people, like, when you ask the question, I was like, most people are going to be thinking, you get to fight and you let it out,
Right.
you let the stress out, but it's not, because, like, one of the things that you just have to learn with martial arts is to control this.
Yes.
And to be able to control that really, really, really well.
Yes.
Like, to give you some context about, like, what our black belts go through to get black belts, they do basically like an 8-hour grading over the span of 2 days. Like, so they do 8 hours each day, and they start at 6 o'clock and they finish at 12, and that's non-stop, or whatever, or 6 till 2 or whatever it is. And that's non-stop. And you don't get water breaks, you don't get drink breaks. You're doing fitness, you're doing cardio. You have to use your brain to mentally think about, forms and stuff. You have to be thinking about what you're doing, the techniques. You have to make sure you're doing right. And that takes a lot of mental fortitude to be able to get through. Not so much about thinking about the technique, but actually just getting through that tough time. And I see it all the time, particularly in adults, where leading up to it, they're super stressed. Like, they're just, I have so much work and I'm not sure if I can get through it. And then after they complete that really intense moment and they get through it, everything switches. Like, they come to class the next day and it's like the whole world's been lifted off their shoulders, and they realize that all the stress and hard work that they've been through, they can get through. And so, like, it's not even more so that martial arts is the fix. It's that it puts you in a position where you have to fix it. Kind of like, if your car has something broken on it and you just leave it, then that's okay, and it'll stay broken if it's not a need. But if you break down on the side of the road and you need to get it fixed, you have to get it fixed, because you'll put in the position to actually, have to make amends. And I think martial arts does that really well, where it puts you in a position where sometimes you don't want to be, and you have the support of people who have been through it themselves, so much so that they can actually help you get through that. And martial arts does that very, particularly well. Opposed to other sports, fitness in general helps. But again, the mindset shift that comes with martial arts is unparalleled. And again, the physical health that comes with that from training, and that, helps with general mental health as well.
And weight loss and everything.
Exactly.
Else, right?
Like for a lot of, for both men and women, like, physical physique plays a really big role in self-perception. Like, I'll give you a bit of a story.
Everyone likes to look good, right?
Exactly, right.
And everyone is talking these days about weight loss, right?
Yep.
But they're not very focused on doing something about it.
Yeah.
So you are saying that martial art, it's also not learning about the art, it's also unknowingly you're losing weight because it's all about cardio.
Yeah, no, definitely,
Right?
definitely. Like, especially for the adult focused stuff. In adult classes, we have sparring classes, you have children's class, you have adult classes, right? In an adult class, you can't be doing sparring every single day,
Exactly.
Because, if we did sparring, full contact sparring every class, you wouldn't be driving home. Like, you know, your knee would be wobbling, or, you know, and that's just general because
Exactly.
it's the older
Yeah.
populace,
Yeah.
right?
But if somebody is interested, there is always a path.
Oh yeah, there's always options for, you know,
Yes.
whatever you want to do. It's definitely not, you know, you get 50-year-old guys coming in there like, yeah, I just want to spar. And it's cool, man. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're looking for, there's always something to fit in. That's another amazing thing about, you know, Taekwondo particularly is, you know, again, like I said, there's so many different avenues. But yeah, for mental health particularly, martial arts is just so helpful on both the physical perception, when you look at yourself, you wake up in the morning, you feel good, you look good, as well as you'll put yourself in positions where sometimes you don't want to be, but you know you have to be in, and you have a really good supportive community around that.
That's very interesting. Hope this information helps all our viewers. Let's do a deep dive on some basics of Taekwondo.
Yep, sure.
Okay, so I would like to start with understanding the general progression starting from the white belt.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the things I want to point out is with any martial art, whether it's karate or taekwondo, they're all based around, like, the actual belt color itself means nothing. Like, they all have their symbols, you know, like white signifies innocence and it's the beginning of the student journey or whatnot.
Yes.
But they all have their own particular meaning, but the actual belt color means nothing. Like, when you come to us and you say, hey, like, we're an orange belt in karate.
Yes.
We don't ask, you know, we're not like, oh, okay, cool, that's just, you know, a blue belt in Taekwondo. We ask, like, how long have you been doing it for?
Correct.
Right, because the time frame.
Yes.
But the general progression goes white, or then go yellow, advanced yellow, green, advanced green, blue, advanced blue, red, advanced red, brown, advanced brown. Then it goes to, like, a red belt with a black stripe. And then you'll go 3 tips on that, and then you'll go to your black belt. Now, a lot of people are like, hey, I've got my black belt, that's the end of the story, right? But the reality is, where you really start learning Taekwondo is your black belt. Like, that's when you really start understanding everything.
As they say, that black belt is the white belt who never stopped practicing.
Exactly, right? Because all the way up until black belt, you've learned all this stuff, but you haven't really learnt it. You've just learned to do it. And there's a difference, right? Like, you've basically been the programmer, and you're just programming, you know, whatever, the video game or whatever. But now it's time for you to actually learn to provide that value to other people. You know, you have to teach other people how to code. Right. You need to teach them how to type on a keyboard.
Right.
And that's a complete whole nother ballpark. You know, like, for some people, they can't interact with kids at all. And you know, you tell an adult, you know, this is a low block, do it. And you tell a kid, do a low block, and you get, you know, like, complete wrong direction, and some people just lose it. So black belt is where you really start actually learning the style. And then in Taekwondo, there's 9 degrees. Karate, there's 10. It doesn't mean, like, one's better than the other. It's just the system that runs. And each year you have to wait progressively longer. Right. 4th degree is your teaching degree, so that's where you can start instructing and running your own school.
Is that 4 symbolizes that you're 4 dan?
Yeah,
right?
so the 4 you can get whatever you want on your belt when you're black. So I used to have 4 stripes on mine. Then I went to the IV. Right. You know, you have different variations of everything.
Yes.
Some people have nothing on their black belt. Like, that's what you find with upper belts. Like, when they get to their 8th degree or 9th degree, they'll just have nothing because for them, you know, it's just a belt, or it's just a rank. Like, they prefer to not really show that. Others do. But yeah, generally what happens is you reach 4th degree, that's your instructors, and then 6th degree will be your master's degree, and then 9th degree will be your grandmaster's degree. The way I dictate it to parents is, it's kind of like literally going and getting a uni degree. You know, you've got 3 years to get your bachelor's, and then at your bachelor's you can start, you know,
your master's,
practicing or whatnot, and then you go get your master's, which ups it, and then you go get your PhD in the same type of structure as that, except it takes way longer. So the gap between getting your 1st degree and getting your 9th degree is about 33 years minimum. You know, like that's a big distance, and that's why not many people get it, because the only way you get that long is if you've been teaching that long, and if you have someone above you for that entire time period.
So you need a supervisor.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a mentor or a coach.
You need someone above you, because otherwise one of the things I tell parents to do all the time is when you go speak to an instructor, ask them about their history, particularly about where they've got their certificates from. Because what you'll start to find is there's a lot of dojos out there where they get to like a 5th degree or a 4th degree, and then what they'll do is they'll start self-serving themselves. So they'll say, I gave myself a 6th degree, I gave myself a 7th degree, like under our federation, but it makes no sense.
Exactly.
Because they were never, officiated, they were never graded.
So you recommend that parents should actually check the affiliation with basically the institutions who are giving out the certificates,
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
Like we have the Kukion from South Korea for WTF, right?
Definitely. Yeah, so definitely checking on that. And there's a whole bunch of federations. There's not one that's better than the other.
Exactly.
But just making sure.
But it has to be registered and legitimate.
And that's not because they're bad teachers. Like I've seen amazing schools who aren't under any federation. I'm like, great. But if your child ever does want to go down the path of opening his own school or doing something, you don't want to be in a position where they're left like, oh, well, the past 18 years of my life, I've been training and I've just been told today that none of it's verified. Like all of it's for nothing because,
that would be very
exactly,
upsetting.
right? So, again, like going and getting a university degree, you have people who migrate over. Like it happens a lot with migrants. They move over and they go get their doctor's degree or doctorate or whatever, and then they come over here and it's completely useless. You know what I mean? And that's something that's pretty heavy hitting. So, yeah, it's just something to look out for. But yeah, there's a whole process of belts that people don't ever really look into, and it's just it's quite incredible how deep you can go with it.
Well, thank you, Isaac. It was a very interesting conversation. We are going to end this program by looking at some of the demonstrations, if you are happy to, provide our viewers some of the basic self-defense techniques and basic kicks and punches.
Yes. Cool. All right, we're going to run through how to get off a single hand grab on the wrist. It's the most simple technique, but there's actually more mental theory to it than there actually is practical theory. And this technique actually applies to a lot of other things that we run through. We're going to do a single hand wrist grab today, but it applies to double hand wrist grab around the neck and a whole bunch of other things. And it all revolves around the rotation around the thumb. Like a lot of people have this perception that your pinky is actually your weakest finger, but your thumb actually is. Like you'll see rock climbers and they'll hang from their pinky because it's actually quite a strong finger. But we're gonna just work on the thumb today. So I'm gonna invite Indranil over here. This is a technique you can literally practice with your kids, and it's really good to teach kids actually because quite often, if someone comes to hurt your child or grab your child, the first thing they're going to do is go wrist or hand. So it's a really good technique. It's really small and really, really easy to learn. So all it is.
So I need to hold your wrist. Right?
Yeah. So you're just going to grab my wrist.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, this is all about thumb rotation. So what you're going to imagine is your pinky wants to almost go over the top. So you see, I'm kind of like waving to Indranil. That's the type of action you want to do. Now, when you practice this at home or with your kids, make sure you make it realistic. So don't grab them like, soft, like really, really grab them. Or if you're practicing with your wife or your wife is teaching you how to do it, then make it realistic. So what we want to do is our thumb up to the sky. And then all we want to do is kind of rotate our hand over. Now, one or two things are going to happen. One, they're going to hold on. If they hold on, it's actually really easy. We just lift our hand straight up into the sky. If you get someone really strong, sometimes it won't work. So what I would then suggest is grab and rip. So grab and rip is really easy. It's literally grab two hands and rip straight up. Or what we teach sometimes is actually to keep them on board, we grab their wrist, which will then allow us to come in and go in for anything further. But that's something really, really small that you can learn. There's a whole bunch of techniques and variations to it. But basically just say hi, rotate over and either pull out or you can grab on and continue. But anyways, if you want more, drop by TKA because we're going to have a ton of stuff, especially self-defense. Like we love doing our self-defense in our adult classes. So,
well, thank you very much
Thanks,
for the demo.